Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
This is part one of a two-part video. We basically take the timing belt off. This is a 2005 Hyundai Elantra, and this procedure is the same for any 99 to 06 Elantra that has the 2.0 liter single overhead cam 4-cylinder. Tools you'll need are floor jack and jack stands, 8 to 21 millimeter sockets. You'll need an impact wrench and sockets, a 2-jaw gear puller, a flashlight will help, and a breaker bar or pipe for some extra leverage.
Using a 10 millimeter socket wrench to remove negative in the battery. Set that aside.
Start by removing one of the front wheels, and if you don't have the benefits of air tools, you'll want to start with the vehicle on the ground, loosen the lug nuts, then jack up and secure the vehicle on jack stands and remove the lug nuts, the wheel cover, and wheel and tire. Okay, you're going to remove the splash shield that's behind the passenger side tire. 2 10 millimeter bolts hold it in place, and just ignore the fact that in here the tire is still on there. I just kind of use some different footage.
Alright, I've located the 12 millimeter bolt that holds the adjuster on the alternator. I'm going to slack off that. I'm using a pipe for extra leverage. And I've located the lower nut for the alternator right here, right next to the oil filter. Use my 12 millimeter and my wrench or my pipe for extra leverage. And taking the tension off the adjuster, the 12 millimeter wrench. And with my tensioner loose, I can push the alternator forward and sneak the belt off. I've located the bolt for the power steering pump. It's 14 millimeter. Use a wrench, and you can always use the open wrench trick and break it free. And I've located the lower power steering bolt, and I'm going to use a 14 millimeter socket with an extension to get to this. And like the upper one, just loosen it up. You'll see now that the pump is loose. Alright, so I'm going to walk the belt off. Locate your AC belt tensioner pulley and the 12 millimeter adjuster right here. I'm going to loosen this up. And I'm going to go ahead and loosen up this 14 millimeter bolt, center of the pulley. And go ahead and loosen it up until you got enough room to get your belt off. I've got a 22mm socket and impact wrench I'm going to use to take off the crank bolt. I'm using a 2-jaw puller, and you can see that I put the bolt back in without the washer so that the pulley itself will slide over the bolt as I screw this on. Take the shield off. Behind the crank pulley there's 2 more 10mm bolts for the lower timing cover. And we get the car supported with the lift, and you can do it with jack stands. And then we're going to have to support the engine because we're going to remove the motor mount.
Get the jack in the wood to contact the engine and then give it one more pump, and that should be enough just to hold it up.
Locate your 3 upper motor mount bolts and nuts. It's actually 2 nuts and a bolt. It's a 14mm. Remove those.
And we'll fast forward here as we remove those nuts and bolts. And now we're just loosening up that tensioner bolt more.
I'm removing the Phillips head screw that holds power steering reservoir. Lift it up. Slide it out of the way. And locate this 10mm here that's on the bottom of the power steering reservoir. Clamp and remove that. And you've got 1, 2, 3 14mm bolts.
Okay, and we'll fast forward here as we remove those 3 bolts.
Now with the 17mm socket, I'm going to take the nut off the top of the motor mount. And now I can pull the engine mount bracket off and slide the engine mount out of the way. Locate the 14 that holds a bracket in place.
And speed up here as we remove that 14mm bolt and the bracket.
Two 10mm bolts hold on this bracket.
Okay, speed up as we remove that bracket.
And you're going to find the 6 10mm bolts that hold on your timing cover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
And we'll speed up here, use the 10mm socket with a ratchet to remove those bolts that hold the timing cover. And now we're going to remove the lower timing chain cover, and there's one bolt, and I'm sorry we didn't get a better picture of this, but there's one bolt kind of towards the rear of the engine that you can get to. We're just using a 10mm socket and ratchet to remove that.
We jacked up the engine just a little bit more to get access to the 4 bolts that hold the water pump pulley on. And I temporarily put the belt back on here. Alright, so I've got Mike holding the belt, and I'm going to quickly turn my wrench.
So just have a helper hold the belt, which holds that pulley in position, and you should be able to loosen up the 4 bolts that hold that water pump pulley on. Remove the bolts, and then remove the pulley.
I'm unbolting the last 10mm timing cover bolt. It's right underneath the water pump. I'm sliding the lower timing cover off. Pull it out from below. In order to line up my cams, I'm going to put the bolt back in the crank so that I can put my 22mm socket and turn it to where my marks line up. Okay, the 2 marks that we're going to want to line up are, one is on the gear here on the crankshaft, and the other is on the engine block itself. So those, when we spin it clockwise, those are going to have to match up. At the same time that the crank marks line up, we're going to have to mark up the little hole here on the cam with the cam carrier mark in red there.
Okay, a little hard to see, we couldn't get the lighting quite right, but if you shine a light through that small hole in the cam gear, it should come out right on that red mark. And then the white dot, which I really couldn't get a good angle on, there's a white dot on the gear on the crank, and there's also a white dot right on the engine itself, and those should line up.
I've got a 14mm socket on the belt tensioner. I'm just going to loosen it. And I'm going to remove the idler, which is down in here.
Yeah, I'm just going to fast forward it here as we undo the bolt that holds that idler pulley in.
And with these out of the way, I can slip the belt right off. Get it out.
Okay, and that's as good a place as any to stop part 1 of the video, and in part 2 we'll put the timing belt back on and put everything back together. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.